Welcome back everyone to Let's Play Sunless Sea with me, BrainBoy20. When we last left off, we'd spent our entire time in the docks, reading and doing all the stuff that we're supposed to do before we begin messing about with the game proper. Without further ado, let's leave dock. Launch. We use the WASD keys to move. We tap the W and S key to speed up or slow down. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the speed meter, speedometer, however you wish to say it. We're going to go full speed ahead because there's no benefit to not doing so. A and D to steer. Now, previously, we were supposed to go to Venderbight in the north. We're not going to do that just yet because there are two islands that are always constants, and I'd like to get those out of the way right now, because the benefits they provide are somewhat nice. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see our discovery and our experience bar, and we have our first taste of combat, so let's go into the combat phase. Combat. You've encountered an opponent. The red arc shows the range of your deck guns. Keep the enemy in range while your crew works out a firing solution. This will happen faster if you keep the enemy in your prow light. The deck gun will be highlighted as your crew make progress toward a firing solution. Press space or close the tutorial to continue. We're going to go fight an auroral Megalops. We're going to keep our speed slow and fire. And now full reverse because we don't want to get damaged if we can avoid it. He submerged, didn't he? And now we claim our prize. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. Claiming our prize. Congratulations, we defeated the Megalops. Claim our prize by basically running them over. Something awaits you. After a short time at Z, a lamp icon will appear above the logbook. It means that opportunities await you at the next port. Terra, when you see green running lights on the ship, you're in the dock and your crew's terror will increase. Watch the pips on the terror indicator. Increases faster when you're far from land. Don't let it reach 100. Headlights to a prow light can be turned on or off. Leaving it on reduces the rate at which you gain terror but makes you more visible to enemies and increases your fuel consumption. Now, with the Megalops defeated, with a forlorn and wailing cry, the Megalops turns on its back, legs neatly folded. As bluish blood gouts from its wounds, its golden glow begins to dim. We can either butcher it for supplies or dissect it for knowledge. Now, beforehand you might have been wondering what the uses are of all these skills, aside from, ships and stuff like that, and why having high skills in certain amounts are better than having low skills. You encounter these challenges, which test each and every single specific statistic. One of the more common challenges is a pages challenge, and this will grant us experience for completing it, if I remember correctly, which we're going to do because... No, actually, we'll butcher it for supplies, which reduces my hunger back down to 0. Supplies aren't used up when you get to 100, supplies are used up when you get to the midpoint, and then if it gets to 100 you start starving to death. Pale and salty meat? The crew will feast. That glowing flesh is unstable. It crisps and withers as the glow fades, so eat while it's fresh. You've lost 28 hunger. We'll close the gazetteer, and we found Mutton Island. And another Megalops. Full reverse, full reverse, full reverse. It's going to attack us, unfortunately. We suffered 2 hull damage out of our 75. And we discovered another island which gave us enough points, which gave us enough fragments to gain a new secret. Now beforehand we butchered it for supplies, we'll dissect it for knowledge, we gain a fragment. A crab full of conundrums. You set to work with your knives and acids. It is an undistinguished adolescent specimen, a Megalops, of one of the deep-sea crab species, but its eyes, normally vestigial in those troglodytic beasts, are larger and rather beautiful. The golden glow is almost gone now, although sparks leap now and then to your knife. Anyway, we're going to go to port at Mutton Island, Quaker's Haven. This will be the first other island we see, and the first one we grab a port or port from, as we have to have some form of income or we're going to run out of fuel and die. ports. That circle of light is a port. Go there for stories. You might not be able to see it until it's highlighted, which you can now probably clearly see now. And docking is instantaneous. All enemies stop pursuing you. The outside world is frozen while you're doing this. So let us go to Quaker's Haven. Once this simple fishing village was part of the London suburbs before London fell and waters rushed in. Smoke spirals from cottage chimneys. A lonely hill rises behind town. Drinks at the Cock and Magpie. There's only one public house on the island. The Cock and Magpie is famed for its local cider, of course. And, of course, the Z food. We can either spend 20 echoes to reduce terror. I'm not going to do that because terror can go up to 100. And I honestly don't care if my terror is this high. I mean this low. We could explore the shore because it's unlocked when something awaits you. We could pick up a wretched Mog, which is a new mascot. Although I don't think I'm going to do so because it costs me 3 supplies, and supplies are hard to acquire except in very specific circumstances. We can chat with the fishermen. They sail the sea around the island. They mend their nets by the harbor. They see all that happens here, but you'll need coin to open their mouths. We can spend 1 echo for a port report. It's worth it. Pirates plying the waves, smugglers at their work, carnate ships putting in to resupply, nothing dramatic, but enough to interest the Admiralty. And then we have unlocked when something awaits you. Stories of the next port. Visit the hilltop above town. There's not much wind on the undersea, but Mutton Island suffers eerie gusts and buffets from an inexplicable local fragment of weather, and the air on the hilltop sometimes carries interesting scents. Toasting the wind, you stand on a cliff top, looking over the little village. Smoke from the chimney of the Cock and Magpie drifts straight upwards. As you watch, the smoke tilts. The sudden wind thins it to a pencil smudge, then nothing. The wind screams unexpectedly, like a god cut in half. What a noise! It must be the caves around the island channeling the air. At least, that's the most comforting explanation. Below you, the locals each take nips from the shared flask and make a toast towards the mainland. The wind is a southerly. You gain 4 fragments. That's all for now, succeeded in a page's quality, and we gain 2 terra. And there's nothing else to do here, so we will launch and go full speed ahead to the other island we're going to visit that's right next to London. Hopefully we don't encounter anything else. Now, to reduce terror, we can try to stick near these lamps. Unfortunately, there's not much point, usually, just because there's so few and far in between. Fragments, you see fragments when you discover new places, acquire enough of them and you'll gain a secret. You can use secrets to improve your captain's skills by talking to the officers or for some key stories. What does that say? Here the wilder airs mingle with the airs of the near reaches. Demo's Gate, named for a navigator lost above. How did his bones come below? Other skills, we can use the Z-Bat and it will identify islands for us that we have yet to see. Hunter's Keep is some distance to the northwest. I'll mark it on our chart. Something awaits us in port. I'm going to go straight to the left, as I believe we're going to miss the island if I don't. And we'll actually view the map. Oh no, we're still fine. We can go north. Oh, Hunter's Keep. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. I keep thinking east is west and west is east. Don't get used to the music. It tends to cut out just because the silence is, I think, a bit scarier and more useful for the atmosphere the game is trying to produce. Usually. Anyway, we're going to land at Hunter's Keep just now. As you can see, things are going slow, just because we have a very terrible engine that's not going to change anytime soon. Let's get rid of this. I don't need to know about the keyboard shortcuts. Hunter's Keep. A hump of dark rock swathed in mist, like 100 other undersea islands. But here a grand house, windows aglow, lawns impossibly green and lush in the false starlight, raked gravel paths. You stand on the dock as the sea nudges the ship's sides. An unexpectedly warm breeze carries the faintest trace of lavender. We have 4 things to do. Present yourself at the house. They will have heard your ship come in. Why hide? Walk in the gardens. Take a couple of burly sailors with you, just in case, but the gardens are tranquil as moonlight. Retconner the island. Plunging cliffs, soft green lawns are well tucked away in a fold of the ground. Anything else? Now, this is how we gain our port report here, and then we can spy on the house. This place may not be as simple as it seems. This one uses our veils quality. We have a 75% chance to succeed. Let us give it a go. Piano music drifts across the terrace. You peer through a half-open French window into a grand parlor, grand in size, if a little reduced in style by dust and neglect. A dark-haired, pale-skinned young woman bends earnestly over her piano keyboard. Another fair-haired but unmistakably her sister sprawls on the sofa with a book. A third sits by the fireplace, staring sorrowfully into the embers. Soon, she says, and the piano music falters and stops. We'll go hungry, and then the end will come, but for me, and not for you. The pianist raises her eyes from the keyboard. Hush, if we don't speak of it, she frowns. Has she seen you at the window? You withdraw. We've gained 40 fragments, and we know a little something of Hunter's Keep, and we succeeded at a Veils challenge. Let's go retconner the island. The sea's silence. Ships rarely come here. Nothing changes, even the weather. The house is the heart of the isle, the house and the sisters, but the Admiralty may be happy to know that nothing's changed, at least. Well, let's present ourselves. Why hide? Knock and enter. A maid with smoldering topaz eyes shows you into the parlor where 3 young women wait. A visitor! The youngest cries. The next youngest chuckles. The eldest sighs. Do excuse the indecorum, she says. Visitors are rare. You are very welcome. I am Cynthia. The noisy one is Phoebe, and the cheerful one is Lucy. You are in good time for lunch. Will you join us? We are now acquainted with the Sisters of Hunter's Keep. And these little things mean that the stories of the Z change. When you do monumental events, a random number is the random number generator re-rolls the dice, so to speak, and sometimes certain events will only be available dependent on how good your luck is. Let's continue. This is a somewhat important choice. I want to make the wrong one first, and then I want to make the right one after. So I can either have a luncheon with the sisters, Cynthia. Cynthia is the eldest, melancholy, pensive, and occasionally dramatic. I can have one with Lucy, the sunny, restless, and prone to giggles, or Phoebe, the soft-voiced, watchful, and unpredictable. And we'll keep the news hidden for now. That'll come into play in just a few moments. I think out of the 2 incorrect choices, I think Cynthia is the best incorrect choice. Cynthia grasps your arm and whispers to you. Her eyes are wide and blue. Her hair is wild and tangled. That's my nest in it. It seems to you that you are sitting on a hillside above a wide blue lake, listening to a story of a murder. An axe, a net, blood and scented water. Another chop, Cynthia asks. You've barely touched your food. Here, I'll have the maid wrap something up for you. You can't be hungry. It's not safe to be hungry. We lost our hunger. We're acquainted. We have the sea god's salt's attention. Iron remains unchanged at 25. We have a tale of terror. We gained 1 terror and 1 supply. Let's go back to Hunter's Keep. They're not receiving visitors. The parlor's empty. Where are the sisters? The maid makes it clear through a series of unwelcoming growls that Phoebe, Lucy, and Cynthia are all 3 indisposed. No lunch today, apparently. News. News. Even when the sisters aren't feeling sociable, they can be tempted out of their lair by the smell of news stories. And this is what the recent news is used for. Not this specific island, but events like this. And this is one of the better ones I've found to use it on. Knock and wait. You ask the sulphur maid to carry a few hints of your news to the sisters. Oddly enough, she comes back with a message that their headaches are cured and you're invited to lunch. I think the right choice is now actually, no, I think Cynthia was actually the correct choice. Yes, I want Salt's attention, I think. I don't remember what the god's attention do either way. Let's go with Phoebe. We'll go to Lucy on the way back. Phoebe has stories to tell of two lovers parted by water, of a raven that carried messages, of a fragment of the moon. She beats time to the table as she speaks, as if to a song only she can hear. The effect is hypnotic. Your attention drifts out through the starlight of the dining room to the false stars glintering in the roof of the cavern. You drift like a puffball spore. The undersea shimmers below. Islands lie like mineral specimens on black velvet. Ships bob like wood chips between the islands. Vast spin things pulse in the depths. There is a scent like the scent before a storm. The storm came, says Phoebe quietly. Everything changed. Somewhere in there you finish the last course. The scowling maids reluctantly serves cheese and Bath Oliver biscuits. We're lost 5 terror. We don't gain any fragments. We got Storm's attention. We've gained a supply, and we have a memory of distant shore. Never mind. This is actually the best one. I'm so thankful I remembered that. But there's nothing more we can do here. And I love this place because it gives you supplies for free, and you want as many free supplies and fuel as possible. You don't want to bother, you don't want to spend your echoes, because it's really difficult to acquire supplies otherwise. To acquire, not supplies, but upgrades, auxiliary weapons, bridge upgrades, forward and aft guns, and torpedoes. It's all very important. And there are no shops available, nothing more. So, let us launch, and go full speed ahead to Venderbight. I'm going to show the journeys for now. Eventually, after maybe like 2 or 3 restarts, I'll stop showing the journeys and start showing the arrivals. Although I've got a bat swarm to fight, and we're lucky to find one. Bat swarms are by far one of the best opponents to fight. Oh, you have got to be joking. Yeah, of course, the pirate steamer. We'll deal with that later. A bat swarm defeated. Little leathery corpses lie scattered across your deck. The rest of the swarm vanishes into the neathly dark. Gather up the corpses. They are succulent with stone and blood. Into the pot. While we dispose of them, their mere touch leaves you shuddering. It'll slightly reduce terror. As you can tell, I don't care as much about terror because it's easier to manage, so we're going to gain 1 terror, an unorthodox diet. Those little bones are troublesome and the flesh is a little gamey, but salt them well enough and they're quite edible. We gain a terror and we gain a supplies. One of the better openers, and we're going to go chase down this pirate steamer. Let's see if we can get lucky enough to get the first shot off. Okay, we discovered outside the tomb colonies. Okay, full reverse, full reverse. Ah! I was hoping I would be strong enough to avoid getting hit a second. I was hoping I'd be quick enough to not get hit once, but unfortunately that rarely happens. We've destroyed a pirate steam pinnace. The ship is yours. What will you do with her? We'll loot and scuttle her. She's a vile old vessel, and the Z's aren't safe. Take what you can and move on. Lean pickings, we get a cache of curiosities. They don't sail far from the hidden harbors, but there's something at the back of their hold. Tap the button carefully. Some sort of barrel. Lamplighter beeswax? A firkin of honey. This is what they call prisoner's honey. Wrung by the lamplighter bee from the exile's rose. I wonder who came... I wonder who made up these names, remarks Ill Seaman Carkett. Someone who has read a sight too many books, I'm thinking. Firkin of prisoner's honey, and we lost the cache of curiosities. Now we should not delay any more. We only have 4 barrels of fuel left. And I believe there's one more location I'd like to visit. No, now's not the time to visit other locations. To Venderbight and then back to London. We need time to acquire more barrels of fuel. But we get to discover more locations and acquire more secrets. Yeah, let's judge the distance. And the silence accompanies us. Yeah, we're almost at Venderbight. Ooh, the Hungry Dead. Sometimes random events will occur. They're not always nice, though. Your cook is outraged. One of the tomb colonists has woken from his coffined rest and found his way to the stalls. The cook came across him. He had consumed half a wheel of cheese and an alarming quantity of suet. Fling the villain overboard. He can walk home, or we can return him to his hold. Perhaps he'll stay put this time. Well, I don't care as much about the cook's feelings, so we'll return him to the hold. If you provided me with more commodious quarters, if the ship did not pinch so abominably, a man grows bored, you know. Death is deathly dull, and so forth. It is a relief when the coffin closes. If only you could nail it shut. I wanted to keep this this gentleman, because I like my payment in full. Hopefully my coffin man will not be so feisty next time. Random events like that will occur at sea, depending on what you have in your hold, but thankfully we got away with it. Let us dock. You've brought this decaying immigrant north. Now what? Days of shrooms and roses. The new tomb colonist surveys Venderbight. Shaking her head. It won't do, she says. It won't do at all. This event triggers based upon my, not legacy, but memories of the past. My past. I don't know why I keep getting tongue-tied, but let's get through this. A plan. I had no idea that this place would be quite so unprepossessing. Perhaps you can liven it up a little. I had no idea the place would be quite so unprepossessing. Perhaps we can liven it up a little yet. If only I knew a helpful Z-captain. Bring 10 units of mushroom wine to Venderbight, and perhaps they'll have something for you. We lost a tomb colonist, and now we're supposed to bring wine to Venderbight. I don't have any mushroom wine, and mushroom wine costs a fortune. So we're not going to do this quest yet. This is really where the free-form aspect of the game approaches. This shows you your first 3 colonies that you can easily visit. But we're now just going to explore Venderbight and do a few other quests. Okay, let's gather some gossip first. Who's plotting what out in the tomb colonies? Along the coast of the Undersea, it's remarkably hard to die. The decrepit and nearly dead who leave London become tomb colonists and settle here in bandaged peace. But they don't give up their ties to home, or their politics. You gather a haul of complex clues, enough to keep your contacts in London interested. And then we shall explore Venderbight? No, we'll visit the first curator. Z-captains, the first curator gives audience. The first curator is responsible for the preservation of the tomb colonies. It has been here much longer than London, like all the oldest tomb colonists. But even tomb colonists dissolve at the end. Its time is close. No more light. The obsequious steward cautions you. The curator is terribly afraid of moths. He opens the door, and you step into near darkness. A pair of luminous lamplighter bees buzz in a latticed ivory tube. There is no other source of light. A bandaged shape no larger than a child lies crumpled on a couch. It lifts its head with obvious effort. It takes several seconds for you to distinguish its voice from the soft buzz of the bees. We can listen to his request, ask about the Grand Sanatorium, accept the commission, or depart for now. Of course, we'll have to listen to the request. Z-Captain, Silkskin. Not much is left of me. I will go into the Grand Sanatorium. Bring me colors. 7 colors. Pay well. 7 colors? Cosmogon, Irigo, Pelican, Steward as list. Find them here and there, across the wide black Z. Let's ask about the Grand Sanatorium. One hears the name whispered here and there in the arcades of Venderbight. Oh, a long, low chuckling. Oh, Silkskin, you don't want to know. Chuckling becomes a cough. We don't die here below, not unless we go to Z. So we need something else, somewhere to end. Accept the commission. Thank you. This poor flesh thirsts for colors. No more words. It collapses rustling back on the couch. Even the effort of speaking seems to have diminished it a little. The audience is over. As the door opens, it shrinks from the finger of light that reaches across the floor. Outside, the obsequious steward nods. The book? Yes, the book. He hands you a slim, illustrated volume. The curator is old. Old as dust. We will all be grateful if you do this one last favor. You now have one of this, a page from the Neath bow. Pelican. Irigo. Viric, Violent, Opposian, the Neath bow book itself. Gant and Cosmogon, all the colors of the Neath. And then we shall explore Venderbight. Here they favor candlelight over gaslight. The shadows are swagged like cobwebs. The tomb colonists stand still enough to be mistaken for sculpture, until they laugh or cough. One building in 3 seems abandoned. My lord, I'm a good Z-man. I'm yours if you'll have me. Will you have me? I'm hungry. I'll work hard. He seems more likely enough, if a little ragged and sorrowful. We could take him with us. We could always use the extra hand. Or we can leave him here. Strangers are too chancy. You've heard stories about things in the shape of sailors. Or you just don't like his face. We could also pay his home passage as an act of generosity, but we'll take him with us. All the way back to the ship, he talks excitedly about the Z-man's craft. You start paying attention when he mentions navigational tricks you haven't come across. With luck, he'll work as hard as he talks. There may be further effects from this decision. We've gained a crew, that's all for now. We have welcomed a stranger aboard your ship, and we've gained veils. Alright. And that is our trip to Venderbight. Venderbight. It is at this point in time that we're going to want to head home. And we'll go get our payment. Sorry, I was afraid that it just flashed battle for a brief moment, and then all of a sudden, like, am I already getting attacked? No, I'm not. I'm just a little confused sometimes. And now we begin the longest journey home. Now, normally when I'm playing alone, I like to take a stop at Hunter's Keep before I go back, just to grab one extra free supply. Although this time around, I'm going to refrain from doing so just for time's sake, so I don't waste yours and mine. One extra supply and a little extra tale of terror and otherwise. While nice in the long run, I don't expect this captain to live very long. We're low on fuel. Oh well. Who are you? Indelible. No, turn off the battle. Please, don't shoot him. He seems friendly enough. I don't know many pirates to be right next to London. Which is nice. And as you can see, we're already at home. Venderbight isn't that long of a distance away. And as you can see, we have next to no fuel. That usually happens very early on. Eventually, this problem will start to solve itself as we go further and further away and get more and more port reports. Because you'll see why once we start turning these in. But right now, I believe we have someone waiting for us at Wolfstack. Lights of London welcome you home. Only appears when you've been at Z for a little while. Collect messages from the Harbour Master. All the clatter and song of the dockside soothes the soul. Other messages for you. Yeah. I was afraid of this. All the clatter and song soothes the soul. Let's see. That's all for now. We have a free evening. Something has changed underneath. And someone wants to sign on. So the alarming scholar is here. We can trade in our stories, or at least more specifically a memory of the distant shore. We'll increase our favor as antiquarian, and we'll gain 10 echoes. As we have nothing else, we shall leave the university. We have a few other things to do, but I'm going to avoid doing so for now. We're not going to recruit anyone just yet. We're going to, first things first, visit the Admiralty's office. So we have 3 separate locations right now. Hunter's Keep, Quaker's Haven, and Venderbight. We'll do Venderbight last. First things first, Hunter's Keep. I trust the Sursters are keeping well. They are citizens of her enduring majesty, notionally. And our visit to Hunter's Keep has been confirmed with the Admiralty's records office. We gain a free fuel and 5 echoes, and also some favors of the Admiralty. Let's go to Quaker's Haven. Been trying the original rubbery lumps, have we? We gain a fuel, favors Admiralty, and 5 echoes. And then Venderbight. And it's been confirmed we gain another fuel, more favors Admiralty, and we no longer have any other port report but 10 echoes. If you're wondering, the further away we get a port report from, the more dangerous the seas, the more rewards we gain from submitting a port report on that place. And then we can now visit the dark-speckled Admiral. No appointment, but apparently I'm to show you in anyway. Very well. You're ushered into the office of Mansion Spire, a cramped room with a vast desk. He surveys you across the desk. Ah, yes, the merchant captain of whom we heard such complicated things. He'll purchase intelligence from me directly now. Assistance with substance? Or subsistence? Assistance with subsistence. Ask if the Admiralty can provide a little fuel to cover your costs. Unfortunately, we don't have enough favor to pull this off yet. If we had vital intelligence, we could support it here. I've never found this myself, and we could submit port reports. Submit a revelatory chart, speak of the great game, and we could also ask what he needs. And we could also turn in some shipments of prescribed materials. Now, you might remember from the last episode we had a quest from the Admiralty. This doesn't change. The quest will always remain there, and we can't abandon quests and do a re-roll. So I'm going to have to find the quest location at some point, and that's usually where you get the vast majority of your funding and fuel from early on. I just got really unlucky with a very, very far distance place that I would have to travel to. And then a little gift. A very fine evening to you, Captain. What you might call mentor is very fond of adventurous Z captains, and would like to offer you what you might call a dispensation, on account of he is so fond of Z captains. Behind the blind Bruiser, on the dock, stands a tray piled high with fuel and supplies. Accept the dispensation. If we have 15 space, we get a bunch of fuel and supplies for free. We can inquire further, or we can refuse. I'm going to inquire further, even though I know who this man is. An airy wave. He runs a very fine and very liberal establishment just across the river, where it is much patronized by sailors and men of wit and vinegar. A public house, and there is no obligation to speak of. My patron would hope only that you might remember him kindly, and I suppose that if the opportunity should arise for you to return his kindness, then I do not imagine he would refuse your offer. If I were a man of integrity, I would refuse. But that's not who I am. I will accept the dispensation. We have a menace of suspicion. We gain 10 fuel and 5 supplies. A courteous nod. Well, my patron hopes that you find these little gifts to your liking, and he expects that perhaps someday you might choose to call on him at the Medusa's head. Should that day come, we will make you very welcome, and give you any safe conduct which you might require. Good evening to you. He salutes you, and is gone. It should be very telling that the police now suspect us with our criminal activities, and we accepted the proposal. And let's go speak to the merchant venturer. An urchin tugs your sleeve. I have need of a reliable agent, failing that an inventive one. Here are my requirements. Oh. Sorry, my mistake. An urchin tugs your sleeve. Governor wants a word. A brooding figure waits at the lamplight's edge. An opportunity for profit. He has very specific needs, but he'll pay much better than market rates, and he won't ask how you came by these things. Venture as a request, speak to him further, or check your journal. A dream and a scheme. I will need your help. If he has made 2 requests, you can fulfill either one. Something bright. Potsasil and the principles of coral. It is usually northeast. It is usually northeast or thereabouts. That's where Skintillac comes from. Around 1,000 echoes for 7. Something romantic. They publish the stuff in the Khanate to the east, but they don't trade it readily. And there's a customs duty on love stories. Still, I'll pay 1,000 echoes for 7. And then also something romantic. Oh, okay, approved romantic literature and just regular romantic literature. That's nice to note. And then from all this, we can finally move on to our one free evening. We're going to carouse in Wolfstack Docks. A marvelous night out. Sea shanties, fine food, and the warmth of a pub fire. And something more. You now have one of this. Recent news, you've lost another day of free evening. I've lost 10 echoes. I was fortunate, and I lost 5 terror. That night in Wolfstack, you find yourself sharing a table with a likely lass, a dapper chap, or someone whose name you do not afterwards recall. A likely lass. She tipsily claims to be a spy. Whatever she is, she's easy to like, and when the evening ends, you're still together. Our dapper chap, an elegant fellow with a presbyterate accent, and an unexpectedly delighted laugh. By the evening's end, it seems natural that he should accompany you home. Well, we can only say our only love is the sea. You take comfort where you find it, but that's all. Well, I've got very singular interests. An interlude. The next morning, she gives you a pewter locket. As you reach for it, she grips it briefly in her fist. Don't you dare forget me, she says. We lose 3 terror, and now we have a locket with a likely lass portrait. And for the last thing we're going to do this episode, let's visit our new recruit. Oh, Jesus Christ. Someone wants to sign on. On later visits, different officers will sometimes be available. If there's more than one choice, you can choose one per visit. Engage an officer, the brisk campaigner. Hoy you need a real physician. None of your surgeons. Brisk campaigner is a skilled doctor who increases hearts and iron. Engage an officer, the haunted doctor. Please, I must leave this place. I can work my passage. I'm a doctor. And we can engage some sailors. 50 echoes for either one of these. There's a lot of these here. We have an officer, navigator. I think I'm going to go with the campaigner out of this group because I have no more recruits for the moment. Don't you have anywhere cleaner? Well, if you, I must do it myself. Where can I find a mop? Appoint your new officer by dragging her from the officers tab, yada yada yada. We now have the brisk campaigner. I have never personally got this officer. 6 hearts, 3 iron, and a doctor aboard. She's marched with armies and cured generals. Don't annoy her. Welcome aboard, miss. And with that, we end the episode here. Hope you've all enjoyed Let's Play Sunless Z. And when we come back, well, we'll have provision for one. But when we come back, we will try to venture much further from London. Until then, so long.